Here you go. Good morning, good afternoon, good whatever it is you're having. Welcome to Paradigm Shifters. Yes, our Transformation Tuesdays. Woo!
Woohoo!
I know, we've been coming every Tuesday since March of 2020 with transformational speakers from all over the globe. And I love the fact that the Paradigm Shifters, we are a growing, glowing, global community dedicated to shift and uplift the planet. How's that? Yeah. And so right now we have like over 1,600 members, and our speakers are from all over the world, and we bring to you topics to transform. And it's great because, like, each year we've been doing this, the global awareness has been growing. So this month of May 2023 has brought us, let me see, oh yeah, has brought us to the topic called a passion for the possible. Mm-hmm. Yeah, a passion for the possible. And so this week's uh, this week's special guest is Cynthia Murphy, my buddy from New Jersey, and I, you know, yeah, that you have this special gift of parenting, and I can't wait, as well as your own journey. And I want you to be coming in here and tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey on this transformational journey. So,
Beautiful, Judy. Yeah. Shall I start now?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
go for it.
awesome. Okay, so
All
before I
yours.
get, thank you so much. I am so pleased to be here. What a privilege. And before I actually get started, I just want to acknowledge, because I don't know if all of you paradigm shifters really know what a friggin' legend Judy Matejczak is. I mean, seriously, she is applied wisdom and applied joy in life, demonstrating that and endeavoring that every single time I see her, she's impacting me and uplifting me. So, Judy, even right now, I'm learning from you. Okay, so I just so appreciate being here. Thank you. Yeah. So, my journey. Let me keep this as kind of concise as I can. I I have three children who are young adults now, and in the very beginning, about 24 years ago, my oldest is about to turn 24. Um, it was, I felt, I was just going along, doing my best, living out in California at the time, and no family around, completely overwhelmed. I felt like I was drowning, like I really couldn't keep my head above water. We couldn't afford help, um, and my husband was gone all day. I actually felt like a single mom, because he would leave at New York time, so that would be 5 a.m. in the morning or earlier, and he'd get back at 7:30, or between around 7. And so it was just really hard, in that way. And then as we moved back to New Jersey and my kids grew up a little bit, right before they started school age, I couldn't keep up, and I didn't know what was wrong, and I felt just completely behind the eight ball, and I was struggling so much, and I ended up having to go on medication because I was so anxious, and then the other side of that coin is depression. So I went on medication, and then some of my mom friends I developed would say, Cynthia, I don't know how you do it. I couldn't do what you're doing. And I just thought to myself, well, I thought everyone did this. And then, as my kids got into school, that was when they really got to sort of see that it wasn't working for them, the school system. And it wasn't designed to help them. My daughter, her first day, she started having anxiety attacks in school. And then one time, she came home and we were lying on her bed. I'd go upstairs with her and help her process her anxiety and her thoughts about the day. My two other little kids running around, not able to give them attention. And she said, Mommy, the teachers, they say I ask too many questions, and they say, I'm being a bad girl. And then, so we have our teacher meeting, my husband and I, and they tell me my daughter's on the floor having anxiety attacks every day. And I just feel like I'm not there to help her, like my 5-year-old. And so it went on from there. They suggested that we get them tested. So I got all my kids tested. They all have diagnoses of myriad different things. And then, you develop the skill set as you go along because you care about that. So here's what I just wanted to really make sure I say today is that um, even before I understood about the science and the art of transformation, I had this deep desire to have a family that worked because I came from a divorced family. So I just really wanted to have a family an environment that where there was loving, kind communication and clear and open and just uplifting each other. And my kids were at odds with each other. They'd have vehement fights, and I couldn't control it. And so that's kind of what happened. And but so I developed a vision eventually. But what I wanted to just kind of put in there is, as I was going along, I developed a sense of a mission of what I really care about. And so I'm on a mission now to evolve the paradigm of mothering from it's either my kids are taken care of, they've got their needs met, or I get my needs met. To move from that paradigm, which is really a self-sacrifice over self-care, that's what I call it, to I put myself in the center of love and all the love that I give to my family so that we're both I am resourced and my kids get my best. I mean, that's possible. So we're talking about, conversations for, passion for the possible. And that's really moving from a thinking of self-loathing to a self-loving, to an understanding that there's no private good. As I take care of me, my kids benefit too. And I didn't know how to do that back then. And it took a while for me to develop. But the ripples what my hope is that these ripples raise the quality of the family dynamic, and that creates an environment for our kids to truly flourish and develop in who they're here to be. And I would love to help 1,000 mothers by 2028, and and so I'm going to be measuring that in my work through how many visions are achieved. Yeah, so could I talk about the common problems? Would that be helpful,
Absolutely.
possibly? And
Yes. And one of the makeups of this is, paradigm shifters. We are moms, we're grandmas, we're teachers. There's so many school teachers out there that I know, and I come from a public school teacher background. I was one for 17 years, and both of my parents were teachers, where you're taking care of so many people and so many people, other people's kids, and would come home and have no energy for your own kids. And so I
wow.
feel that this is very, very important. And I would love to have everybody write this down. What you said, self care. Tell me that one again. Self care.
Was it the self-sacrifice over self-care
Yes,
cycle? Yeah,
I've
it's
never
that
heard that
cycle.
before.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that's how I just kind of brought it into a nutshell. One of the traps we fall into as not just mothers, but caregivers. Like you said, teachers, grandmothers, yeah, whoever that ends up being.
Yes, talk about the problems.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So I've actually noticed three common traps that we get stuck in. And I was stuck in all of them, okay, every single one of them. And I'm sure there's more, but these are the ones that really stand out to me with all the other moms I talk to and all the other people or caregivers that I talk to. And one of them is the fear of I'm not a good mom. It's like mommy guilt, but mommy guilt, that cute little phrase, is great and everything. But the truth is, sometimes I think it can coat over the significance of the feeling of it's really that myth that we're not enough to some degree. And then the second problem I've noticed is that we get lost in our role of mothering or of caring. We get lost in that role. That's what I call the self-sacrifice over self-care, Judy. Um, and then there's that super mom paradigm, right? Trying to get it all done. So I thought with the time we have today, and of course, any questions that come up, I'm happy to answer all of them. I thought I'd just focus on one of these to kind of yeah, okay, great. So how am I doing with time? Okay,
Oh
perfect.
yeah, no problem at all. This is good. We go on all night.
Okay, yeah, juicy. Let's get juicy and down into the good stuff. Okay, so what I noticed in terms of the fear of like I'm not a good mom, because I just told a little bit of an anecdote of how that occurred with one of my daughters when she was 5. But so about 2 years ago, I'll start with this short story. Um, my daughter, she wanted to kill herself. She was suffering from PTSD, And so what that means is she'd encountered, or she went through some trauma that she actually wasn't aware of until, right, very close, soon before she started processing it. So, she's in therapy. We get her in therapy. She's on medication. And I was desperate because I felt like I couldn't leave her side for the fear that she'd do something, that she'd, give up on herself and really hurt herself. And it was that bad. Um, and so I'm sitting on the couch in the family room with her. She's like, a few feet away from me, kind of just being there in case I could do something to help her, or to fix her, right? We try to fix things when we're kind of in the pattern of like, oh my gosh, survival. And I noticed a thought. I thought to myself, like, where did I go wrong? Like, what did I do wrong? And because I thought for myself, I'd been there every single step of the way, and I really tried my best, and it wasn't enough. And so the guilt of that, it just made me feel so heavy and so dark. And yet I knew that I needed to stay out of really going into her pattern of feeling those emotions that she felt. That's not how I wanted to relate to her. I wanted to stay above that so I could help her. And so my paradigm had been, if I'm a vigilant enough mom, because I literally held my oldest daughter, I held her all the time when she was a baby, because if I'm vigilant enough, then I can control whatever happens to her. I can keep her safe. I can keep her from feeling pain. I can fix all her problems if she's running into problems she can't handle, and I can make sure she doesn't feel abandoned. And I was like, whoa, when I reckon that's what I was afraid of. I was afraid of abandonment. Okay. So that's the truth of it. So that was my paradigm. So what happened was, as I got up from the couch, which I know now, as I look back, that was like an interruption of the paradigm, because I literally changed my physical state. So I got up and I walked over to the sliding glass windows, and in my head, I'm thinking, wait a minute, how can this actually be true? How can I question myself like this? Like, are those thoughts even true? That I'm not being a good mom, or I wasn't there enough, or I couldn't control. And then, like, this explosion of awareness inside my head was like, oh my goodness, my success as a mother is not based on my kid's journey. It's not based on her own path, right? The truth is, my success as a mother is determined by how I show up in the moment, by who I'm choosing to be.
All right, I'm gonna
And
put like woo pause button here.
okay.
Write that one down. First, rewind. My success as a mother. Keep going, and I'm just like this. This is like golden here, and I'm
Yeah.
saying that because you're hitting all my buttons. That's like,
Oh,
and my kids are like your age probably now, and they're still there.
okay.
And I'm like,
Okay.
the further I get away, then the better they are. Sometimes. Keep going.
Yes,
My
yes, I totally
success
get that.
as my
Yeah,
can you
so
say that again? My success.
absolutely. So, my success as a mother is determined by how I show up in the moment, by who I'm choosing to be, not by my whether my kids, her struggles or her successes. My success is not based on that. It's not contingent on that. And was so freeing, Judy. It was just so empowering, because it was like, and here, what it allowed me to do was, it allowed me to be really present for her. It's like, oh my gosh, I don't have to fix. And all these kind of awarenesses started bubbling up out of that, right? And um, so there's two parts. This might be helpful to everyone. Okay, two parts to this. So it's who I'm being in the moment, which is empowering because it's a choice. It's an intention that we can set. We can do that. But the second thing is, it's also my perception that I want to be aware of, is the meaning that I'm adding to a stressful situation or event, right? That's my process that I took myself through. Is I noticed, first of all, you notice, right? Because if we're not noticing, then we're just at the effect of the struggle. And then I asked, is it even true? Is this like limiting thought that I'm having, this kind of self-bashing, I'm not good enoughness thinking, is that even true? So I challenged the thought, and then I asked myself a couple of other questions, like, am I doing my best, truthfully? And if I've made a mistake, let me own up to it, because that's how I want to model for my kids how to, I want connection with them. I don't want to be the adult and then they're the kid, that authoritative kind of thing. I didn't want that dynamic. So am I doing my best? And then here's the idea that my mentor, Mary Morrissey, your mentor too, shared with me before I even had met her, knew what she did. It literally transformed the quality of my days. And you might want to write this one down, Judy. You can say that or not, but be a soft place for yourself to land. I
Oh,
mean, that idea, just the idea of that. Wait a second, I don't have to be hard on myself. I don't have to drive myself. I can actually be a soft place for myself to land, not only for me, but when my kids, act out or do stuff, I can be a soft place for them to land. This was life changing for me. I mean, it was like an instant sense of compassion that came up. So I'm so grateful for that. So, um, yeah. So one thing, here's just a practical tip that might help people. Like if you're in the thick of it and you like notice, okay, I'm having these, I'm like putting myself down. I'm really feeling like I'm not enough. I feel so guilty. Just to do what Brené Brown talks about, that shitty first draft, of writing. So um, so you can just write down all the feelings that you're feeling, because you don't want to try to change them or resist them, because then they get stronger. So what I do is I welcome the feeling. And if you can write them down if you want, that's just one tip. You don't have to, but just to even generate that experience of, okay, I've felt all the feelings. And then what's a truth thought? Well, my child struggles and life path does not make me a good or bad mom. I am good enough. I'm a good enough mom because of who I choose to be. So, um,
wait, are you bringing
yeah.
back memories to me? I was at a meeting once and was so the guilt, that whole feeling of guilt when they do whatever. And somebody, a very wise woman, came up to me afterwards and said, "What makes you think you have anything to do with anyone else's life, including your son?"
Write that down.
Yeah, and it was like, oh, really? Don't you think that God has no grandchildren? Or God has, that they're on their own path. Just like,
Mhm.
and it helped me with that forgiving of my past, and where I was
Mm,
I
yes.
really felt I screwed up big time. And being, yeah, yes. And it wasn't until someone very lovingly came and, you know, head to head, lovingly told me, get off your victimness, you know,
Mm,
it's, yeah. And I think in your bio, you were talking about that victim mentality as well. So yeah, keep
yes,
going. This is,
absolutely. So, s- I have another, I mean, I've got so many mindset tools and practical tips, but I'm not going to go there yet. I guess I just would love to tell, I think the main thing that really changed everything was when I created a vision, when I actually learned about transformation, and created a vision. And I'll share a brief story about how that applied. And I think that can help a lot. But what I recognize is the truth is, if you're not serving a vision, you're serving a should. And yeah. And then, and in serving the should, what I recognize for me when I still fall into this tendency. It's like, I've got to remain aware, do my best to be aware and notice, so I can stop that and say, wait a second, this isn't true. I don't, there's no shoulds that I need. I get to choose, because that's victim, right? So what I recognize is when I'm not really clear on my vision, or when I sort of don't visit it for a while, I start to fall back into doing what I should be doing, and justifying that, and that just strengthens that pattern. So here's what happened. Uh, a few years ago, well, not too many, but our we were advised to go to family therapy, so we did that. And one of the things they taught us at family therapy, which was a really great tool that I hadn't thought of, was having a family meeting. I don't know, Judy, you might have known these things, because you just have a lot of wisdom around how to work with groups of people, and you were in the a teacher and all that. But so they said, have a family meeting at home, and just to make it a safe space to, like, you hold a spoon or you hold something, and whoever's holding the heart or the spoon, if you have this squishy stuffed heart, they're the ones who are talking it and sharing their experience. So we had this meeting, right? And after, I walk into the kitchen, and my daughter, the same daughter that I talked about earlier, she follows me in the kitchen, and she's this empath. She's amazing. She grabbed my forearms, because I was holding something. She said, "Mom, Our family works because you held a vision. Like, I didn't tell you, I mean, I didn't share those terms with her. And today, things have transformed beyond my wildest dreams. My son, I've got a son and two daughters. My son, who was this angry young man, he is now saying, I love you. He's verbal. He wasn't verbal before. He used to grunt. He wouldn't sit down at dinner with us. He's, you know, he, and then, and he and my, one of my daughters, so they used to kind of be really at odds. They're, that he calls her for girl advice. He calls her to help him like with tutoring. I mean, the closeness, and that's just what I'd wanted. And there were so many times, Judy, even like along when I was a coach and I was coming to Dream Builder Lives, I'd be ready to leave, and there'd be this huge fight that breaks out, and I just thought, oh my gosh, my vision for a healthy, you know, functioning family, that's not even, that's so far, that's not this. So yeah, so that's what happened. And I'm
Well,
so grateful.
it works because you have the vision. Whoa. To have
Yeah,
your daughter say that to you.
I know. I know. I'm chills even remembering that. And yeah, so it's so things that I think also another tool that I use that can really be helpful, um, and is to ask the question when you find yourself stumped and you just don't know how what else you can do, to kind of pause and kind of make some space between you and all the doing, and just ask a question, ask a different question. What would love do here? And just stay open to the question. Because there's another story, like amazing story I have about that, but I won't share that now. That's for another time, perhaps. Um, but that is a great way to shift your energy, to shift your focus, because as you paradigm shifters know, I'm sure, where you put your attention is really where your energy goes, and then you get access to ideas that are just not in your history. That so it's really powerful to ask, you know, what would love do here?
Wow. Oh, I want to hear that story. One more
Oh, is
story.
there?
Yes.
Yeah, one more story. Okay, okay,
Because
you're
yeah,
so
we
cute.
can talk. I'll tell you what. I go to so many of the the teacher meetings and stuff, and it's all up here and stuff. And you go, yeah, yeah, that's not really going to work. But the stories where it works, that's what I live
Yeah.
for. Yeah, tell us.
Okay. 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 Oh, okay. Cool. Thank you so much. So, with my other daughter, when she was about, she's 21 now. This must have been when she was about 15, 16. Um, so she is in a deep depression. It's a really beautiful sunny day out. She's in bed under her covers, sobbing and weeping. And it's sometime in the late morning. And I go in and, you know, she's almost like this. She's this kind of person. She has this tendency to kind of pick a fight. Like that's how she interacts with people. And so I just was having so much trouble to try to connect with her. And I felt again, it's like my whole bottom of my being just dropped out. And I just like, I don't know how to help this. I don't know how to help her. And I said to myself, okay, I'm practicing, you know, taking care of myself. So I'm going to go to Pilates. I'm not going to sacrifice that and stay here. I can't really do anything here. So feeling really bad about myself for that, I went to Pilates, and on my way home, I'm driving and I'm at a, then the light turns red. So I stop at the light. And I mean, on this drive, I'm thinking, gosh, you know, I've done this. She's in therapy. She's you know, medication. She's got all these things, these resources where, you know, kind of supporting around with around her, putting these structures of support, listening and all this stuff. And she's like, what? I don't know what else to do. Then I was there and I had, you know, I stopped. So I couldn't just like drive and be aggressive in my driving and wonder. So I was thinking, let me ask a different question. Um, what would love do here? And I'm sitting there at the red light, and I didn't know the answer. I'm just like in this emptiness, like what would love do here? I'm trusting that there's something, there's gotta be a solution. And all of a sudden I get this idea. It's almost like it came from the top left, it came into my mind as like, oh, write a letter when you get home, a note card, stick it under her door, and then go sit on the deck. So I did that. I get home, I'm like, we scurrying to, I open my drawer, I find like a card that I think, okay, write a card. Okay. And here's what I wrote on the card. This is summarizing. It's not verbatim because I don't remember exactly, but it's something like this. I was vulnerable and I told the truth because with kids, they sniff it. If you are trying to be right, that means automatically they perceive that as I'm wrong. So I was like, I'm not going to go there. Right. So I said something like, um, I don't understand you. That's the truth. I don't understand what you're going through. I want you to know that I love you so much. And I'm going to be out on the deck. And if you'd like to come, join me, I would love to have your company and I will just listen. I'll just be there to listen. So I go out on the deck. I just kind of trust the process. And so 10 minutes later, she comes downstairs. She is dressed stylishly. She's kind of a fashionista. And she sits down and she has this most mature conversation with me. She's calm. I mean, Judy, I couldn't believe it. Like the transformation of that, just through being willing to ask a different question.
Mm, wow, wow. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Well, and we're going to wrap up in a minute, but I, wow, yeah, wow. Ask a different question. And there's so many. Let me just tell you this. Your kids are in their 20s. Now, my kids are in their 40s and 50s. And I'm watching my daughter, who is 39 now, with my granddaughter, her daughter, and her son. And I'm watching what a beautiful parent she is. And I'm still, we're still her parents, but the beautiful part for me is to be the grandparent and watch the generations go without trying to butt in. And once somebody said, you have no idea what it's like to be 39 years old in 2023. She's parenting
Mm,
the way she is for this age, and the beautiful awakenings of these young moms that, and the love and care that they're teaching their children, and you're teaching your children to be for their generation. So
mm.
it is such
Judy, yeah,
work what you're doing.
yeah, yeah. Thank
Yeah,
you so much. Yeah. First of all, how good that must feel for you to see your daughter be absolutely brilliant in her own way. I mean, just that must feel so good. Yeah,
she said to me once,
I'm,
she says, I'm not going to parent like I was parented. She said to me, I'm like, oh, really? That's great. It's like,
but
you let them know, and then we just laugh. So many times we just laugh because we don't know, and
yeah,
there is that internal power within each and every one of us, especially our kids, that is more powerful than any situation, condition, or circumstance. Uh, and then to stay in integrity of all
yes,
people, including for me, my kids and my grandkids and the neighbors' kids. I love having like stuff around to like give to these other kids that are not my kids, but the parents, and just to uplift the parents. I see parents in the park all the time with their kids, and I'm just feel what a beautiful thing to take the time out to be with your kids in the park. Just anyway.
well,
Here's what I'm going to wrap up. Definitely, definitely, definitely get a hold of Cynthia Murphy for further conversations. It's like, for me, this is my mission to shift and uplift the generations now and the generations to come. Because that's how we're going to
I see you doing that, Judy. Yes, you are absolutely doing that.
every day. Every day. Okay, so here we go. What we love to do for all of our guest speakers, and gosh, I'm so glad. Passion for the possible. Yes, we can. Yes, we must. And so what I'd like to ask for you, what would you love to have us as our Paradigm Shifters community hold for you? What would you love, Mama? Or what would you
Yeah.
love? And
Oh,
you get it.
yes.
It's
Oh,
Morningsburg. We're here to give it to you.
thank you so much for that. It just So here's what I would love for all of you amazing paradigm shifters, you beautiful, incredible souls, to hold for me is that within the next year, I'm in the process of developing a self-leadership program for high school students involving choreography and dance. Just taking my passion for dance and and movement and and then including modules that integrate the universal principles that I've been trained in as a coach, and to help these young people create a vision for owning their own voice, speaking their authentic truth, and this from this vision to that each of them is really on fire with their own creative expression, tuned into their own genius and feeling even more confident, even more self empowered. So, and then I'd love to take this program and pilot it in the local high school. So, if you could hold that for me, yes, I would
Yes.
love that.
Here we go. Okay, now what your job is
Oh,
to
okay,
accept. Okay, so wait a second.
okay.
You are all over in New Jersey, right? So here we go. All right, now we're getting the energy going. All right, okay, now hold out your arms because we're gonna like float it over to you. You get to receive it. Ready? And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you, Judy. Thank you, Carol. Thank you,
Oh
all of
my
you.
God. Thank you so much for being here. It's such a pleasure. Wow.
Such a privilege. Oh gosh, such a privilege. Thank you, Judy.
Amen.